Hello, viewers, and welcome again to our new class. Today, we are going to learn about computer hardware. This particular session is going to benefit anybody interested in computers, trainees who are doing digital literacy, JSS learners who are doing computer studies, and any other person interested in computers. The learning objectives for today is that by the end of this session, the learner should be able to 1. Define computer hardware, 2. Identify and describe the main categories of computer hardware, 3. Give examples of input, output, processing, and storage device, and last but not the least, explain the functions of different hardware components. Before we begin, what is the computer hardware? Computer hardware is the physical part of a computer. That is the things you can see and touch. Examples, you have the mouse, the keyboard, the monitor, CPU, speakers. So, hardware is the real, tangible part that makes computer work. Simple. What you have to know about computer hardware is that it is divided into different categories. These include input devices, output devices, processing devices, storage devices, and communication devices. Let's look at these categories one by one. And to begin with, we have the input devices. These are devices that are used to enter data or commands into a computer. Examples we have keyboard. For what purpose? Typing. Mouse, pointing, clicking, dragging, and navigating around the screen. Then you have the scanner for copying not only pictures but documents. Actually, it does the opposite of a printer. Now, this one transforms the hard copy into soft copy. And a microphone, it is for sound input. On to the next category, output devices. These are devices that display or produce results from the computer. Examples we have monitor, printer, speaker, projector. Monitor for displaying information, printer for producing hard copies, speaker for sound, like what you're using to listen to this particular lesson, and projector for enlarging display on screen. Processing devices. These are devices that perform data processing. In the gadgets that you have, like the tablet that you have, the laptop, that workstation, the only processing device that it contains is a CPU. Not the only one, but you'll see that there's also another one in a later video I'll show you after this. And what you have to know is that the CPU is the brain of a computer. I have an analogy. Can you think of a person who, let me say, doesn't have a brain? Or the brain is faulty or malfunctioning? How would you describe that particular person? Mm-hmm. Sick. Imagine now, a computer without a CPU is not like a person without the brain. Huh? Too bad, yeah? On to the next category. We have the storage devices. These are devices that store data and information. Imagine if you're able to watch that favorite series of viewers that is in your computer. It's stored somewhere, right? And what is that particular device? It can be a hard disk, it can be a flash disk, you can be having it in a mem card or a CD or a DVD. Interesting, right? Next category is communication devices. These are devices that are used to send or receive data between computers. An example, we have modem, network interface card, Wi-Fi adapter, a router. Okay, I know there are some devices that I've not mentioned and you're wondering, don't they form part of computer hardware? Yes, they do. The list is just endless. So I want you to have a look at this particular video and be keen enough because I'll be asking you questions right after this. Here we go.
Motherboard. The motherboard is a flat board with many circuits and connectors where you put the other computer components on. It is considered the heart of the computer because it allows electrical current to flow, composing data to connect to all the computer parts. But despite arguably being the most important, it's usually much cheaper than the rest of the components. CPU. The central processing unit, or processor, is a small square chip that sits on the motherboard, usually covered by a cooling fan. It's often called the brain of the computer because it handles every single calculation and instruction needed to make everything work real quick. For example, when you type something and it shows the words you type, opening a program, or doing things like browsing the internet, it's all CPU's role. Despite its tiny size, the CPU is one of the most expensive and powerful parts of a computer. Graphics card. The graphics card, also called a GPU, is a rectangular board with a large chip in the center, usually covered by a fan to keep it cool. Unlike the CPU, the graphics card is designed to handle the graphics and visualization of tasks, like when you play video games or do video editing and 3D rendering. Think of it like the CPU as the logical thinker and the GPU as the artistic painter. And it's one of the most expensive components of a computer. But there's another one that's relatively cheaper, and it's called integrated graphics, or iGPU. So unlike the dedicated graphics card, the GPU becomes one with the CPU and uses the processor's power, which makes it cost-efficient but often weaker performance. So when you play heavy games, you have to use lower graphics settings to avoid lagging. Hard drive. The hard drive is a box-shaped storage device, usually made of metal. It holds all the computer's data, including the operating system, programs, and personal files like photos and videos. Inside, it has a spinning magnetic disk and a tiny moving arm that reads and writes data. The hard drive is also able to hold lots of data, but it is very slow at accessing it since it flows through a small wire, and it doesn't always give you the right data. Therefore, we need RAM to handle this. RAM. A RAM, or random access memory, is a thin rectangular stick that plugs into the motherboard. It only stores some data from the hard drive that's needed by the CPU to access it more quickly. To make it simple, imagine the hard drive is a garage full of various items, and the RAM is your tool bag. Since you have so many scattered things in your garage, it's going to take some time to search and grab the tools you need. But if you store it inside your tool bag, you can't store as much. But you can grab the things you need real quick without having to go back and forth just to get the things you need. That's how RAM works. But one thing you need to remember, unlike a hard drive which stores data permanently, RAM is short-term memory that clears everything once the computer is turned off. SSD. The solid-state drive has the same function as a hard drive, but it's faster and more durable because it doesn't use a spinning disk and small wire, but a memory chip. In some computers, it is used with the hard drive, or just the SSD alone. It's more expensive than a hard drive, but it has become the standard due to its quality. Cooling fan. Some areas like the CPU can be very hot, so we need a cooling fan. It's usually attached to the processor or placed inside the case to push out hot air and bring in cool air to prevent slowing down performance or damage. Some high-performance setups use liquid cooling as an upgrade for better heat management. Power supply unit. The power supply unit is a rectangular box that converts electricity from your wall outlet to power the previous computer components we've talked about. For your information, laptops have a power supply as well, despite also having a battery inside it as a portable power. Wireless card. The wireless card is a small component that allows a computer to connect to Wi-Fi networks without the need for a physical Ethernet cable. If a computer doesn't have a wireless card, it can only connect to the internet through a wired Ethernet connection. Case. The case is the outer shell of the computer that houses and protects all the components we talked about. The case also plays an important role in cooling, as it has vents or openings to allow airflow and help cool the components. Also, there are different sizes and styles of cases, from compact ones for small builds to larger ones for gaming or high-performance PC. Motherboard.
Okay. What did you learn from the video? I understand there are some devices that if you look at them, they don't belong to any of the categories we mentioned. For example, where can we categorize the power supply unit? Where can we categorize the motherboard? Where can we categorize the case? Where can we categorize the system unit? It's a tricky question, right? But what you have to know is that all these devices form computer hardware. Learning never ends, and we realize that we can even create more categories than the ones we've already listed. So, here's a brain teaser for you. We're going to do a little quiz, and let's see how many you're going to get right. Are you ready? Let's start. First question. I am the brain of the computer, thinking faster than a squirrel after coffee. What am I? Any idea? You have the answer? Is it that? If it's that, congratulations. Answer is CPU. The CPU acts as the brain. It processes all instructions so that your computer can work. That is what I just said the other time. On to the next device. I am always at your right hand, clicking away. Unless you're a lefty, what part of a computer am I? That one is so easy. It's the little mouse. On to the next riddle. I store your memories but never forget. Even when you do, what's my name? Who am I? It's a hard drive. Somebody else might have said it's an SSD. You're right. It saves all your files, photos, and programs for long-term use. Somebody reminds me. How about a flash disk, a CD, a DVD? Right. All of them are used for storage, long-term storage. On to the next. Riddle. This is a simple one. I've got keys but not doors. I'm always ready for a good press. Who am I? That's very easy. I'm the keyboard master. One thing about keyboard, I think that one I'll expound in our next class, or I'll just do an entire video of it. The keys that you can see, not only the letters and the numbers and special keys, each one has a specific task. And there are shortcuts you can use to combine different keys to perform a task. That's actually for another lesson on its own. We'll look at the keyboard tricks. On to the next riddle. I take digital dreams and print them on paper. What's my name? What's my name? I'm a printer. Yes, it turns your digital documents and pictures into real paper copies. The next riddle. Without me, your computer naps forever. I bring energy. Who am I? Do you know who I am? Right, this power supply. It gives power to every part of your computer so that it can run. Well, Let's summarize what we've learned today. We've looked at the hardware, that's the physical components of a computer, and we've realized that it works hand in hand with the software. And there are different categories. You have input, output, processing, storage, and communication. Examples, you have keyboard, monitor, CPU, flash disks, router, and the list is endless. Our lesson next time will be computer software. For today, it's bye and asante. May God bless you as you continue learning with Mary Mujao. Kwaheri.